All right. What's going on, everyone? Jay's here again, back with you another day. It is, what is it today? It's Wednesday, October 25th. This is the Coffee Q&A, our weekly day, or our daily live stream, talking about coffee, trying to help you make better coffee at home, whether you're a professional or if you're an enthusiast. And I'm still trying to figure out what I'm supposed to say at the beginning of these shows. Anyway, good to see all of you. Thanks for tuning in. As you can see by the title, it says the French no press utterly sucked. So yesterday in episode 82, we were making the Aramse's recipe for the NextLevel Pulsar, using the recipe for what called French no press. The idea is some kind of like a French press-esque brewing of the coffee. And, there was a couple misgivings. I had a couple misgivings about it, like the brew time, especially the brew time, the 6-minute brew time, 4 to 6 minute brew time. What's up, Mom? Good to see you. And, we tried it. We ended up, holding it till 6 minutes and then pulling the valve to let the water flow, to let the coffee flow through. And we ended up with like a 7-minute, 13-second brew time, which was way long. And the results were, well, they were terrible. It sucked. This is a coffee that we've been brewing with, that we've enjoyed. We've had nice results with. But this particular brew method, finer grind, longer steep time, is kind of a recipe for over extraction. So I thought, what? Let's come back today. Let's try it with some modification to see if that we can't get a better result out of this recipe. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep with the same grind setting, that kind of finer 400 micron grind. We're still going to try to stay with the same protocols, but what we're going to do is we're going to cut the time dramatically. So instead of waiting for 6 minutes before we open the valve, we're going to take it to 3 minutes, open the valve, and hopefully get it done by 4 minutes, which is the minimum recommended time that Aramse says, but I think it's more of the maximum brew time for most coffees. So that's what we're going to do today. Hopefully we'll get better results. And also, if you have brew recipes for the Pulsar Next Level, put them in the comments down below. I'm looking for more recipes. Actually, I was kind of running out of recipes. I did these 3 from Aramse, and then, one of the guys was like, check out, Mark was like, check out Lance's video. So I checked it out. It looks like Lance's video is just another variation of Jonathan Gagne's video. Now, if you've done it and you know, and I'm wrong, let me know. But I think it was more of Jonathan Gagne's recipe. And there's a lot of people that are putting out videos on YouTube for the NextLevel Pulsar that are just using either Jonathan Gagne's straight up recipe or maybe minor variances on maybe quantity or something. And so it's like, how about something a little bit different? Although one of our viewers, Long V Poke, sent me a message about something he called the float method. And thank you very much. We're going to try that tomorrow. And that's basically going to be 20 grams of coffee. We're going to do 40 grams of a bloom for 15 seconds. And then we're going to add in intervals and see how that turns out. But that's for tomorrow. Today we're going to get into this French no press redux. All right, so let us go and have a look here. We're going to go and weigh out, what did he say? 18 grams of coffee. So we're using 18 grams of coffee, 306 grams of water. 18, perfect. Now we're going to take that and we're going to grind it. I haven't changed the grind setting since yesterday, so we're going to stay with that. As you already know, we're using the compact R80 commercial shop grinder. And the R80 means that 80 millimeter flat burrs. It's a nice grinder from Spain. Those Spanish, they're very into grinding. All right, here's our grind setting. Yeah, not bad. Fairly grind. Baldhead says, good morning. Try pre-wetting the filter. Just kidding. He's always right about the pre-wetting. But maybe pre-wet the brewer to maybe raise the brew temperature. All right, we'll try that. I mean, yesterday's results were a little bit on the I didn't think it was necessary because it wasn't cold enough. But let's try it. We're going to do the pre-wet, and I'll even pre-wet the filter because I know you're dying for me to do this. It pains me to do this. Pains me. Because I have a video on the site, on the channel, that goes extensively into tasting. Okay, here's a problem. So it's a nice and tacky surface, but I've kind of pushed it up unevenly. Didn't go better. Let's try this again. Okay, that's better. That's better. That's more even. All right, so we're going to close that valve. That actually helped me to get that off, I think. I'm going to fit that on here. And because we know that Bald Head is very much about, like, please pre-rinse your filter. All right, we're going to use that to preheat our brewer. So they're 300 grams. We're going to let that sit for a few moments. All right. We'll dump that out now. All right, happy? All right, now, as you can see here, let's show the evidence, the wet filter. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take this coffee and we're going to, let's see here. So that's the thing. We're going to add that's right. We're adding the water first, and then we're adding the coffee, and then we're going to use the WDT to do a little bit of pushing to make sure it's wet, right? WDT, here's my WDT. So it says prod with the WDT to wet the grounds. And then 3 to 5 stirs with the spoon. Why you're doing I'm not asking. All right, let's get our timer together. Actually, the only filters in the pre-wet are Cafe Abaca. I'm not familiar with those pre-filters. I'm not familiar with those filters. All right, let's reset this timer. Okay, we're going to add the water. Oh, let me just boil it just a little bit. Let me get this heat back up. I don't know if you've noticed, but I actually use a big kettle for water here. Mainly because this space is what we call the Café du Sport. This is actually designed as part of our roastery to be a little coffee experience place. So it's really developed as a place that is heavily inspired by Japanese-style kisaten, specifically Café del Hombre in Tokyo, which is my favorite place. And so we followed a lot of cues from them. And so, all right, so now we got our boiling water. Good morning, Wilson. How are you doing today? Okay, now we're going to add 306 grams of water. Oh, see, here's the problem. See, look, did you see that happen? That's the problem with this whole... That's the second time it's happened on the show, right? Look, it popped up. That's a pain in the butt. See, this is why I don't like to do that. All right. That fell into the... Let's try this again. Okay, we're going to try this again. Try again. Now we have to go slowly. 306. Oh, darn it. I got distracted because I wasn't sure if my head was in your way. All right, let's try this again. We're going to keep going. One day we're going to get this correctly. 308, that'll be fine. Okay, we're going to add the coffee in, start the timer. Ouch, I just poked myself. All right, prod to wet. Prod to wet. And then cupping spoon, 3 to 5 stirs. Okay, now we're going to let that roll. And so now we're waiting until the 2-minute mark, and then we're going to knock down the crust at the 2-minute mark. Which means that we only have about a minute after that to finish the brew, or to before we start to open the valve at the 3-minute mark and then let it flow, right? That's really the important part. Okay, so I have to put the carafe on here as well so that we have, so as you can see, 326, everything, nothing's changing, just adding this, so now that will definitely change. But no, and because Bald Head wants us to heat everything, let me reheat that. All right, there we are. Good, that's for you, Bald Head, that's for you. All right, so there it is. We're rolling. Oh, I better not mess with that. So 1 minute, 30 seconds. We're waiting for the 2-minute mark before we start to take our cupping spoon and stir it up. We want to break the crust that's forming on top of the. All right, right. So 1 minute, 48 seconds. Just readjust this so it's centered. All right, almost 2 minutes now. All right, now 2 minutes. We're going to stir it up to get the crust to break. Good. That means that all the coffee is fully saturated. Now we're going to wait for 3 minutes. At 3 minutes, we're going to open the valve so it drops, and hopefully we'll have everything done by 4 minutes, and that will give us hopefully much better results than yesterday. Right? They say in Japan, ganbatte kudasai. You know, I'm releasing a video by Saturday that talks about the spaghetti Napolitan in Japan, with a visit to the coffee shop Galant in Ueno Station. And there's this one thing, there's this word yoshoku, but I recorded it as yoshoku, but I can't think of it. Should be yoshoku. Oh, okay, 3 minutes. We're opening the valve. Now it's going. Okay, we're gonna be finished. Or is it yoshoku or is it yoshoku? I have to look that up. Or I should really just call some friends, be like, hey, is it yoshoku or is it yoshoku? I know it's a small difference, and I'm American, and I speak English and not Japanese, but, you know, there's part of me that's always like, I would like to be as authentic as possible. Yoshoku. Okay, very good. Thank you, Bald Head. So not the long yoshoku. Okay, good. Then if that's the case, we're good to go. We're good to go for the video. It's almost finished. All right, 3:45. Oh, so this could deliver us right around 4 minutes. Now, that's the thing with Aramse. I wish he was like a little more clear when he's starting to fall. Or maybe he was, and I just wasn't paying attention, or it's been so long since I watched the video. I don't know. Okay, 4 minutes. We're still got a little bit more fall here. But I feel comfortable. So one thing Mark Test has been telling me, the owner of this, he's like, you know, the hole is really small. And until this point, I was kind of wondering about that because we've had pretty good fall in the time being, but now we've got 4 minutes, 19 seconds. So it took a good minute for that to flow through. Whereas we would have more volume flow through the coffee in, let's say, like V60 or even like the Bonavita or the Avid Clever, whose orifices I thought were relatively similar in size, but they must be larger. So I'm starting to see that, yeah, I can see why some people would like to see larger orifices on these. I think that would be a good thing. All right, so let us have a look at our elixir. Oh, this is kind of warm. Maybe I should warm this up too. Maybe that's kind of cold, so I should warm this up too. Although pouring hot water into a glass was probably not the smartest idea. Now my fingers are burning. All right, there we are. Look at that. Definitely looks lighter in brew strength than it did yesterday, for sure, right? Same coffee, same grind, just shorter time steeping. From this angle, it looks kind of the same. It's still pretty darn hot. smells a little bit cleaner, smells a little bit nicer, a little bit more woodsy, warm, lighter. Wow, it is hot. Okay, so my first taste was obviously not happy. So when we had the multi-steepen release, the one from episode 18, from the one from episode 81, I recall that being very light and enjoyable and fun. Like I actually enjoyed it. It was the brew that when I first tried, I was like, oh, maybe there is something to this next level. But this is heavier. The bitters are still there. It's not heavy like yesterday, not as heavy, but the bitters are still there. And this is a coffee that I'm drinking outside of the show. Like I'll have it like in the afternoons when I'm having my concha. I'll brew it like in a Bonavita, in a full immersion with a filter. And it's really enjoyable. This is not that. There's some juiciness, and there's some body, but it's all kind of muddled. There's a bitterness. Everything's just muddled. I will have to wait till it cools down a little bit. That's surprising. Disappointing. It's disappointing. It's disappointing. I was hoping for something really dramatically better. It's not. Like, it's an improvement from yesterday, but it's still just like, ugh. Like yesterday was really heavy and dark, and like it kind of, it was so over extracted that it made it more like a darkly roasted coffee in character. This is not that, but it's still got that bitterness. It's not so pleasant. It's just muddled. I don't know what it is about that brew method. This recipe's not. I definitely think so far that the multi-steepen release was better. Plus, all of this, the one thing that also kind of, I don't know, it's like all this gadgetry. Like I need to have a cupping spoon. I need to have a WDT. Why do we need those things? I don't know. And why do we pour the water first? Like, I would like to understand some of the reasoning behind some of these things. Like, for example, if you put the coffee in first, and then you added the water, that, like with French press brewing, I use the turbulence of the water being added to it to make sure, and just like in a cupping center, we're using the turbulence of the water to make sure that all of the coffee is hydrated. So we don't have to worry about prodding it because half of the coffee is floating on top is dry. Like even at Spro, we wanted to make recipes that had procedures, steps that would make the process slightly easier, right? Like, to me, if you do the water first, unless there's some really significant reason that you want to go water and then coffee, which I don't know what that could be because it's not really showing up in the cup as an improvement. But, I would want to reduce the amount of steps involved, like coffee first, then water, so you don't have to do the WDT part. You can still do the break with a spoon, or even what we would use at Spro, we would have these bamboo stirrers, but, I don't know. Let's see. Baldhead says that pouring the water in first in a clever coffee dripper is supposed to result in faster drawdown at the end. I've never tried that, actually. I'll have to give that a try and see what happens. And then he also says that it's still a French press with a lot of too much agitation at the start. Yeah. But, of course, there is the filter. And it doesn't have that body and heaviness or that kind of, not dirtiness, not muddiness, but there is a textural difference when you're using the French press because it has the raw minor sediments as well as the oils that come through. Like this doesn't even have that. This is just, of course, because there's a filter, and so it's very clean in that respect. It's just not terribly enjoyable. And I want it to be enjoyable. Well, this is why we're trying different recipes to find the best one that I think will suit the Pulsar. And then maybe we'll get to try a couple of the coffees to see. Here's the problem. Here's the other problem, right? Like, and I mentioned this the other day when I talked about the AeroPress Championship, is that, you know, you can have a recipe that's really great, but really that recipe is really great for not every coffee. Not every coffee will perform that way. And this is why, like at Spro, at the Hamden shop, when we first opened, we started with 7 different brewing methods. We used French press, Chemex, AeroPress, Clever, V60, the Ava Solo. Oh, that was it. That was it. 7, right? 7. So we had 7 different brew methods with 7 different recipes that we had developed in-house for those brew methods. Now, if you were a guest, you could order any coffee brewed in any device that you wanted, but we would still follow the same recipe, right? And our approach was not really to tweak the recipes necessarily, but rather to pair the recipe to the coffee that would best be presented in that manner. So as we would get coffees in the early days, we would bring in coffees from different roasters. So we had like 6 different roasters we worked with. And then as time progressed and we started doing more of our own roasting and doing our own sourcing, we would bring those coffees in more. But each time we would have to figure out which methodology of brewing. Oh, we also did vacuum siphon, the vacuum pot. Which method of brewing would show this coffee the best? You know, what do we feel is the best? Now, if we had a coffee, let's say like this Peru, and we felt that, okay, it's really amazing as an AeroPress, but you're the guest and you're like, hey, you know, I would like to try it as a Clever. No problem. We're going to brew that for you right away. So, but part of that reason is that I find that while brewing recipes in a particular brewing method may be great for one or multiple coffees, it's not going to be great for all of them. And I wonder how much of this is present in this. So perhaps in this recipe, in this brewer, it's horrible for the Peruvian. Like the Peruvian is the worst coffee to use for it. But for this brewer, the NextLevel Pulsar, and the multi-steep and release process style of brewing, the Peruvian tastes great. So I think it does make itself very complicated, which is why I don't necessarily for home use espouse all of this kind of stuff. I try to, you know, like for me, it's always about let's stay with basic brewing, simple brewing, practical brewing, nice quality coffees that can be enjoyed. That's my thought. I'd have to try that water first in a Clever. I've never tried that. Well, at least I don't recall trying it. All right, well, that's pretty much all that I have for you today. Tomorrow, we're back again with a recipe. I have to look because it's long PVO. Thank you, long PVO. I don't know if that's the way to pronounce that correctly, but he sent in a submission for a recipe. So if you have any recipes for the Pulsar, drop them in the comments down below. Love to see them. Maybe we'll try them on Friday. All right. So until then, till tomorrow, thank you for tuning in. Mom, Baldhead, Dan, Wilson, good to see all of you guys. And all of you who aren't commenting, drop a comment so that I know you're there. All right. Until next time, see you then, and hope you have a great day today.